Well, here we are. It is Friday, August 18th, 2023, and this is the weekly newsletter. Do these every Friday. We take a look, see what's been going on in the auction market, auctions that have happened, talk about price results and all that. As you know, we did a second video this week on the conclusion of the sale in Boston, where all that China trade merchandise did so well. Some beautiful examples. I was absolutely thrilled to see that. It was wonderful. And now we're going to talk about some upcoming sales. One of the things I wanted to talk about quickly before we get into it, though, is and we don't usually get into this stuff, but it has to do with China and their economy right now, and the impact that this might have on the Asian art market. And if you're a serious collector, it's good news. And I want you to contemplate some of this. There was a story today that Evergrande, the big real estate companies, I think it's one of the biggest, it is the biggest, if not the biggest, the second biggest real estate firm in China, went bankrupt. And they filed for bankruptcy in the United States. And it's a real serious problem. And what's happening there is the Chinese economy has not recovered since COVID. Demand has not come into their market. Exports have not increased. And they're in a period of deflation. We're having inflation here because there's a lot of demand for things. Supplies are in short supply and that sort of thing. Raw materials, whatnot. Price of oil is high. But in China, it's the opposite right now. There's no demand. And there's a lot of empty real estate sitting around, which represents about 1/3 of China's entire economy is based on real estate. And the companies that are funding these real estate developments and putting out bonds are defaulting on them because there isn't enough money in the economy to buy as they were before. Their Chinese growth rate, GDP increase has gone from, as many of you know, was 8 or 9% a few years ago, and it's now down to about 1%, 2%. They're thinking it may go negative. The currency is going negative the last few days, and the trend has been downward since the beginning of the year, despite the happy talk from Goldman Sachs and BlackRock that some of you may remember that after the COVID thing was winding down, they were all saying, "Oh, put your money into China because it's going to be a boom." Well, it wasn't a boom, and it wasn't a boom for a whole lot of macro and micro reasons. But the point is that China's economy is right now at a very difficult point. Now, it may come out of it. China's had difficult times before. They may find a way to muscle their way through this, but they may not because of the one-child policy is starting to really impact them financially. They have a high unemployment rate in China right now. There's all kinds of issues going on. And the only reason I bring this up is because it will impact everything, and that includes the art market, and may cut back on participation at the auctions and through major dealers in Hong Kong. They're gonna be the ones that feel it first, I suspect. But at any rate, I'm only bringing this up because you may see some buying opportunities coming up without the extra competition from China. All right, so just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to talk about was we took the book page because we had a lot of people, I noticed, been picking up books. We set up that book page linked to Amazon of books that we liked that we put on the site a few weeks ago. And we've taken it over here to the newsletter page and we've linked it down here at the bottom. There's a whole section here for books, and we have 5 or 6 or 10 books or 12 books here. These are books that we like and own and stuff like that. But there's on this page here, now you can click and link and go right over there, and you can peruse Amazon to your heart's content. And we put books on there that we either own, have owned. A number of the books that are on here I've owned and read and have loaned them to people and never gotten them back, which often happens with books. If you ever loan somebody a book, don't expect necessarily you'll ever get it back. I think half the time I never see the book again, but that's the risk of doing it. But one of the books I wanted to talk about, we just added to the page because it came out a year ago. It came out in 2022, and I couldn't get a copy of it right away. And I noticed it popped up on Amazon. And this is the book. If you like Chinese silks, this is the book right here. And I ordered this a couple of weeks ago when it came up, and I wanted to see it because it was written by David Hugas. And David Hugas wrote a book, I remember back in around 2000, that was very good. It's on rank badges, Chinese rank badges and their history and so forth. And this book is actually better than the first one, which I had loaned to somebody and never got back. And it's extensively illustrated. One of the big things with Chinese rank badges is that people often say, well, is it a sixth rank or is it a fifth rank? Is it Qing? Is it Ming? Is it early Qing? Is it late Qing? And in this book, he breaks them down by period. So he has the rank badges. He starts in the Ming period. He works his way up. He even has rank badges for the Shunzi Emperor, the Kangxi Emperor, the Qianlong period, the Yongchen period, of course, the Jiaqing, Daoguan, and he goes through and illustrates all of like 3 or 4 of every type of rank badge from each period. So you can see the variations. It explains the symbolism in them in extensive detail, how the silks were woven, when they were worn, when they were not worn, all of it. It's a really, really good book. And it's only $65. Now, according to Amazon, they have only one left in stock, but there's more on the way because I think the book is maybe selling pretty well. But I would urge you to get it because once they're gone, they're not printing these. They print out, typically these types of artistic books, they print maybe a few thousand copies at the most. And then once they sell out, they rarely reprint because there's not enough volume left. And printing books is very, very expensive. And these are all printed on, this one is printed on phenomenally heavy stock. Beautiful paper, beautiful paper, nicely finished and very well written. There's a lot of writing in here. It's about 300 pages. And I would urge you, if you're interested in Chinese silks and interested in rank badges and want to do it, go over to the newsletter page, scroll down to the bottom, and see if you can't get it. And there's some other books in here that we have, and I think in the future we're going to talk about some of them because you cannot build a good art collection or Asian art collection without having good books. It simply cannot be done. And we have the books on the website on the reference section. I think there's 730 or 40 of them over there in auction catalogs. But owning good books that are well written and very specific and highly educational is really the only way to do it. You can't learn about this stuff from looking at photographs. It'll tell you enough or tell you a bit, but not everything you need to know to stay out of trouble. And we're going to start doing that, I think, a bit more. All right. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention was a couple of things. If you're interested in rock and roll and you like collecting Chinese art, stick around because there's an interesting auction going on at Sotheby's I'm going to talk about that some of you might enjoy participating in. Just a quick note, the Alex Cooper sale is coming up in about a week. If you haven't looked into it yet, there is a lot of memorial wear in here. It's a lot of it's very similar to the type of material that was sold at the Grogan sale this past week from the Gagosian brothers. Some really nice memorial 18th century Yongchen, Qianlong period pieces, all kinds of stuff. One of the things that's in here, though, if you're a Japanese bronze buyer, this is listed as a Chinese bronze wine cistern. It's not. It's obviously Japanese. For some reason they mislabeled it, but it's a big one. It's 17 inches tall. It needs a cleaning, a little oiling, and this thing would be magnificent. So, and that's coming up when's the sale? 7 days, 17 hours. So 8 days from now, roughly, at Alex Cooper in Townsend, Maryland. But check that sale out. It's a very good looking sale. Some very nice Chinese things in here. Also some Neolithic pots and whatnot. China trade lacquer playing card boxes and so on. But there's some very, very nice looking armorial pieces in here. Some fairly rare ones. Worth checking out, definitely. All right, and this is, I think I might have mentioned this plate a couple of weeks ago. I just keep going back to it. I think it's wonderful. Portuguese market, early 19th century export plate. Beautiful gold rim on it. And as you saw the other day in the Grogan sale, Portuguese market stuff's doing pretty well these days. And I think the $400 to $600 estimate would be a bargain if you could get it for that. Now, over to Sotheby's. How many of you remember Freddie Mercury? Many of you will. He died in 1991, I think, somewhere around there. He was the frontman for Queen, the rock and roll band that was formed in the early 70s. He died of AIDS, unfortunately. Of course, it was a surprise to everybody because nobody knew he had AIDS until the day before he died. He didn't really tell anyone. His doctor knew, but none of his friends and so forth. But anyway, he collected all kinds of stuff, and they're doing an auction called A World of His Own, Crazy Little Things, and it's sort of an interesting sale. But there's some Chinese stuff in here, and most interestingly, the best Chinese things are Chinese silver of all things. So if you like Queen and Freddie Mercury, and you were entertained by him, well, you can own something that he owned. You have this nice little silver by Wing Fat, early 20th century, nicely done with these little blossoms all over it. And Luen Ho, nice tea caddy right there. Again, circa 1900, beautifully done. I think the prices are going to go up a bit because of the provenance, but the provenance is the provenance. Always keep that in mind. So God knows what Freddie Mercury might have kept in that tea caddy. And then this was also his. This is a very handsome piece of silver with repoussé work with birds all over it. And branches and flowers and so forth. Lovely shape, really a beautiful form, beautifully worked silver. This is, I think, the best piece. It's only estimated 200 to 300 pounds. It's already up to 800 pounds. It should bring 2,000 or 3,000 pounds anyway, and it may bring more. It could bring 5,000 pounds because of who it belonged to. If you get some rock and roll fan that collects silver today, he's going to want this no matter what. But it's an interesting thing, and the provenance of it will stay with it forever. So it's a big add-on to the value, I think. And this is also an extremely nice set. It doesn't appear to be signed, but it's Chinese silver with enamel. First part of the 20th century, probably 1910 to 1920s, but beautiful quality silver. And we talked about enameled silver before because it's extremely pretty. Strong enamels on silver just has such a great effect. And these are striking. These are absolutely striking. And it's two pieces, two pots. But I don't know what they're calling it. They're just calling it two teapots. Maybe one's a coffee pot, one's a teapot. I don't know what the difference is. But at any rate, it's a nice looking thing. It's got a few bids. It's up to $500. I would expect this will bring probably 3,000 or 4,000. We'll see. And also a pair of Rose Canton Qing Dynasty 19th century glove boxes. Which is sort of interesting, something you wouldn't think Freddie Mercury would have owned, but he did. There they are. So if you have anything there that looks interesting, register. The sale's taking place in London. It ends on the 12th of September. So you have plenty of time, but get to it. All righty. And now, what else is going on? Down here, this is I want to say thank you to some people. Where is it? The Patreon thing that we added to the site. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. As you know, we decided, a number of you suggested it because we wanted to help out running the sites and paying for the videos and equipment and whatnot and servers. We have I think we have 3 servers now. I forget. Anyway, we set up a Patreon account for the channel. I'm going to remind everybody, I'm not harping on it at all, but if you didn't know, and you can click here, you can go over and subscribe to the channel. It helps support us. It's very important. A number of you did it last week, and I want to thank you for that. It was very, very nice, and some familiar faces. I was glad to see that. And if you'd like to support us on Patreon, it's $5 a month. I checked this week. Last week I wasn't sure if it was 4 or 5. It's 5. And one of the benefits of joining, though, on Patreon is that on YouTube they have advertisements that interrupt the videos, and we'll be uploading each week's video to the Patreon account, which has no ads. So if you subscribe on Patreon, the 8 or 9 or 10 videos we do each month, you don't have to sit and watch them and wait for the ads to run through you. There are no ads, which may be worth maybe worth a buck a video to you, or 50 cents a video to you, not to have to see all the ads. At any rate, that's just say thank you to those that you have subscribed. Appreciate it. And now, moseying along, what went on eBay last week? Well, there were some pretty good results, and I think some pretty good buys. This was a buy that I thought was very good. Was the Schwann figure of the immortal? This was a very nice piece of Schwann ware, clearly 19th century, maybe older. It was around 10 or 11 inches tall, and it sold for $440. And I think that was a good buy. I wouldn't have been surprised if that brought more. But there may be less participation over in the UK. I mean, in China now with everything that's going on. It's definitely going to have an impact. All right, now over to this, the terrine. It was funny. I was thinking about this terrine when we did the Grogan video because there was a terrine that was sort of along the same rough vintage and age, but it was for the Armenian market or something, and it brought $10,000 or $12,000. And when I did the review, I mentioned that this type of terrine typically sells for $400 or $500, maybe $600. And this was a nice one, rose medallion. Beautifully done, nice gilding, and overall quite good condition. I must say, it was a little weird at the top of the finial, but that was about it. And it sold for $422 plus shipping, and that's the difference between, I guess, it being for the Armenian market and being for the American market these days. But still, it was a very nice terrine. Somebody got a good thing, and finding a platter, an undertray to go with this wouldn't be at all difficult because it's a well-known pattern and was often produced. All right, now over here, Realgar. The Realgar snuff bottle, the little one sold here for $261, which seems a little soft these days. And there was the other Realgar bottle, and we're going to talk about that because there's a story with that. I heard from the buyer today. And Realgar seems to be maybe a little more affordable now. Again, this is something we're seeing as a trend. Prices seem to be a little more relaxed, less pressure in the market. Chinese economy again. Is this nice little Realgar snuff bottle went for $261. And I remember bottles like this selling for over $500 and $400 back in 2010 and 12 when the market was ragingly hot. It was crazy. And so it seems to me that moderation has come back on these, so they're buyable again. You don't have to, overstretch your account. And then there was this bottle, which I thought was outstanding. It has a Spink and Son provenance, and for whatever reason, it didn't bring a lot. And there's a story here, though, and I'm going to talk about this because this infuriated me. The seller, Matthew W. Rich, out in San Francisco. If Matthew, if you're seeing this, shame on yourself. That's all I'm going to say. A lady in Ireland bought this, and she emailed me today. And she told me that she bought it, and her brother or husband or somebody is in the United States right now, and she has an alternative shipping address for the U.S., which is in her eBay account. And when she paid the bill, she changed the address to have it delivered to New York, I believe it was. And then when her brother comes back in a month or two, when he's coming home again, her husband, he can bring the bottle with him, and then you save $50, $60 in shipping. I imagine the seller was not happy. Mr. Rich was not happy with the price, maybe thought it was going to bring a lot more. And it seems like he was looking for an excuse not to follow through with the transaction. So when the invoice came back paid, but to a different address, he canceled the transaction on her because he's not willing to sell it to her. And according to her, she changed the address at the time of payment, which is perfectly acceptable by eBay's rules. They allow this. All right. And even if she paid the invoice and then told him, oh, wait a minute, send it to New York, don't send it to Ireland, he could have done it by simply canceling the transaction, relisting it for a buy it now price for this, and then she could have added the address at the time of payment. But that's not what happened, according to her. She said, I changed the address when I paid the invoice, which means this guy just wanted to get out of the deal. And in the future, Mr. Rich, we made a note of his account. He's not going to be featured on the newsletter page anymore because I think that is just despicable. Part of the business of buying and selling in the antique world is sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it. And if you cannot deal with that and stand up for yourself, you should get out of the business completely. Go sell tires. Go sell something else. The antique and art business has its highs and its lows, and you always have something. Each year, you're going to have maybe many things each year if you sell enough stuff that don't do what you thought they were going to do. But you're also going to have things that do much better than you thought they were going to do that overrides any potential loss on the other end. But you have to take it all, the good and the bad. And if you put something up for auction and you don't reserve it, you get what you get. All right, and it's maybe he paid $400 or $500 for this. I don't know, but that's not the point. The point is that it didn't work out this time, and you have to put on your big boy pants and eat it. All right, but you can't cancel transactions once you put a thing up for sale because you're basically it's dishonesty. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. The guy was just dishonest. So Mr. Matthew Rich with 291 100% positive feedback in San Francisco. If you are buying from him, um, um, don't. All right. All right. I know that's hard. That's being a little harsh, but this absolutely made me furious. All right. Now, over here, the little Sung Celadon bowl that we talked about last week, the carved bowl, did awfully well. It brought $3,750, but it was a nice bowl. And I think we said probably 3,000 or 4,000 for it. But this was a nice one. It looked perfectly legitimate to me, and apparently it did to a whole lot of other people, and it did very, very well. 3,750. And it wasn't cracked or chipped or anything. It was amazing. Those are often have hairlines in them, as many of you know. And then down here to the wooden carving, the Ming wooden carving, or the 17th or 18th century. He said 18th century. I think it's older than that. It looks like a Ming one to me. It looks like a bronze. It's carved out of wood. This was wonderful. I love this thing. I love these old carvings. And nice detail, nice color, worn, about 7 or 8 inches tall, sold for $360, which is fine. That's a nice buy. That was a good purchase for someone. Good looking carving. Just needs a nice place to sit on a shelf in your cabinet or on your mantle and enjoy it. All right, and then on to this, the Rouleau vase that was done in the Kangxi style, but probably was Republic. A lot of people really liked this vase, and it was because of the under red decoration. The underglazed red decoration is a tough color, as all of you know, and it's combined with underglazed blue, so you've got that difficulty in getting the blue to bloom into the right color during the firing process, as well, and getting the red to come out red and not turning green or failing in the kiln. And this was done, and I think this vase was pretty clearly made during the Republic period. It does have a Kangxi mark, but the foot rim and the rest of it doesn't look right for Kangxi. And were it Kangxi, it would have brought a lot of money. And it ended up doing pretty well still. It brought $1,556, mainly, I suspect, due to the complicated way in which these have to be fired to get a successful blue, a really good blue, actually, on this one, and a successful red. Tough trick, because they require 2 different temperatures to work. All right, during the process. And then over to this. This was an interesting bowl. I had a couple of people ask me about this bowl. They wanted to know why I put it in the newsletter page. And I had looked at it, and I said, this is a nicely decorated bowl. And then I checked on it, and it has a mark from the Jiangxi Porcelain Company from about 1915. But this was this particular mark. If you look it up in Davison's book or any other book, you can learn a lot about them. The Gothberg site has things about these Jiangxi marks. And the Jiangxi porcelain companies, many of them were extremely successful because they hired really good artists to work for them. And they were sort of vacuuming up as other kilns went into financial trouble in places that were employing these decorators. The Jiangxi Porcelain Company hired many of them. There were several of them. In the area, and they would hire up these really, really good decorators. So when you look at this bowl, it's a little confusing because it looks like it has early decoration. It looks like it's look at the side of it here. Hold on a second. There. And that looks like, that looks a lot like 18th century decoration. Beautifully done. Very, very nicely done. Nicely trimmed foot, very well potted. Beautiful potting on the piece. It's a little wide, but I like it. I think it's just fine. The foot rim is nice and neatly trimmed. Very traditional, and it's got the factory mark on the bottom, and it ended up doing pretty well. It brought $430, which is about the right price for it. This bowl was around 6 or 7 inches in diameter. It was a nice bowl, very collectible. Down the road, these Jiangxi kiln pieces are going to be worth a lot of money, I think, because they did great work. They were very well known for some of their best pieces. Were really, really well made. Fantastic. And then over to this, the little sort of peculiar Tongxi marked late Qing cup with the bamboo handle and this unusual shape. This is an unusual little cup. It really is. Really, really unusual. Nothing fancy. It's not amazing. It's not stupendous. It's not incredible. It's just interesting because it's the kind of cup that you would find in a sort of a middle-class Chinese family or, something like that, or exported just as an inexpensive piece of porcelain, not terribly high-end, but unusual. And I like unusual things. So There you go. And I think I brought a perfectly reasonable price, $459. And if you're a mug collector, I suspect a mug collector bought this. I'm not sure, but I think so because it's if you collect mugs and handle teawares and whatnot, this is an unusual piece. Even though it's not highly refined, it's not like a great Kangxi piece, but it's still really really nicely done. And then over here to this, the bottle, 18th century, around 1785, 1775, export bottle. This was in nice condition, truly nice shape. It looked awfully good. And I think somebody got a good buy, $459, because we've seen these many times in the past, sell for $600 to $800, $459. So there you go. And then over here to the cups. And here you have these little cups, and one of them was damaged, and it brought $665. And the reason is if you bought, I hope you took a look at it. This is one of these old, very nicely done with applied porcelain vines then that were enameled. It had a little bit of repair to them. These often do. But very nicely decorated, very, very pretty. They also, of course, did teapots and creamers and sugars and other wares in this same style. But very, very nicely done. And of course, there's no handle on it because they hadn't started putting handles on these teacups at the time this was made during the 18th century. It's got one on this side. I think there's a little bit of repair work, but very, very nice pattern, very nicely done, and in beautiful colors. So $665. Had these been perfect, they probably would have brought $1,200 to $1,500. And then over to this, the salt, that little salt. Like I said, these have been very reasonable in recent years. They've come down in price because of the export decline. Demand in export porcelain has slid off. And these used to sell for $300-400 each. And this one sold for $119. It had a small repair somewhere on it. It says on the rim, but I couldn't spot it in the pictures. Maybe. Okay, it's got a small chip out of that side. But it's 18th century and it's salt. And salts are desirable forms, and you can pick them up now for $119, which I think is a pretty good deal. If you've ever wanted one, often you can find them in pairs too, of course. And then over to this, the last thing was this piece of pewter that was done like a Ming cup and stand, which I thought was sort of interesting. It was probably made during the late Qing dynasty, but nicely done, nice metalwork with these serpent handles on it. And these are not fancy things. These are just nice Chinese market things, nice landscape decorations on them that you can buy, and you don't have to be the Aga Khan to do it. The cup and saucer went for $165. I hope one of you got it. That's a neat little thing, and it didn't cost an arm and a leg. All right, and that was about it for the week. There were other things on there, but right now everything is still quiet. We're still in August. There's a few auctions starting to come up on the global pages, I noticed, and we'll be seeing more and more of them. Now, something I wanted to point out, somebody emailed me about this week, and he was wondering if it was really Chinese, because it's listed as Chinese blue and white porcelain plate, and it is not. This is English, all right? And but from a distance, it looks like it. Now, it's a good thing to buy if you collect Chinese 18th century wares and 19th century export pieces, because this is a direct English copy of one. And this is probably an early 19th or late 18th century bowl from the edge. It's got a chip out of it. But the workmanship on it is very, very nice. It's about 9.5 inches in diameter. And it is a dead ringer, of course, for the 18th century blue and white China trade wares that were sent to England. And when those went to England, the British began copying them, and they copied them with considerable fealty to the original design. And this would be if you have a collection of this porcelain and you've been looking for a good English counterpart to add to it, this is a good one. And he's only asking £30 for it, which is perfectly reasonable. It's funny, the plate costs $38 and the shipping is $30, which is not a big surprise because shipping has gotten expensive. But if you collect Chinese blue and white and willow pattern and all that sort of thing, this is a good example to put alongside the Chinese originals, and then you can have the comparison of, if your friends come over and they're at all interested, you can show them and explain why they look so similar. It's a fun thing. And then back over to this. This is a seller that's in Connecticut that usually has auction things, but sort of high prices for some reason. But this one, he didn't describe it. He didn't name a country. Antique blue and celadon porcelain teapot. And this, of course, is Japanese Arita ware. It had a little repair, silver repair to the handle, but the dots on the bridge handle and the repoussé work and all this. There's the bottom of it, very Japanesey looking, probably 18th century, I would suspect. But a nice little pot, very clean, very crisp, beautifully done. Next to the empty swimming pool there. I hope he didn't drop it in. Um, this is a nice pot for $250. If you're an Arita buyer, you might want to look at this because I think he's had this up several times and never had any takers on it. I don't know why. It's perfectly legit. I think he would do better if he called it Japanese Arita, but he didn't. It's got no bids. It's at $250. Drop a bid on it. See if you don't get it. If nobody else comes along, I think you get a good buy in your hands. Nice piece of Arita. But these molded pieces are sort of unusual. You see them on dishes more often than you see them in teapots. And then this is coming up. It has this listed as Junyao or flambe glazed bottle vase. This looks like a piece of Shawanware to me. It's nice though. There's the bottom of it. A nice thick glaze. It's not a big vase. It's only about 6 inches tall. It's up to $47. It closes in about 7 days, but it's nice. It's probably late 18th or early 19th century. I like the glaze on it a lot. I like the way it's been potted. It's very cleanly glazed around the bottom. Well done. It ends nicely. And if you like these pieces, look into it. But I don't know if I'd call it Junyao. I think that's a sort of a buzzword, but certainly flambe glazed. Very, very pretty color. Really pretty. Beautiful blue. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what they did there. All right. And then over to this, the Japanese photograph. I threw this in there because I know some of you buy Japanese things. And this was done by the Yokohama studio during the Meiji period. So it's a 19th century thing. It's got this beautiful, what looks to be a really fine cloisonne vase in it with an attached stand on the bottom. And this probably was done in the 1870s or 80s, and around the time when the Japanese were really gearing up to send pieces off to exhibitions around the world. This was a big thing in Japan. And they would go to the international exhibitions and send these sort of monumental pieces out to show the world Japanese culture and art and appreciate it. And this is what we can do, because at this time they had some really, really fine metal workers that were doing super fine cloisonne work and doing mixed metal work on bronze and all kinds of other things. And this is a neat sort of historic photograph of this period. It's a big photo. I think it's 9x10 or something. And I think it would be great to have it. It looks like it's been tinted. His robe looks a little blue, so they might have color tinted it a little, which was something they did do. And there it is under its mat. So drop it in a frame and enjoy it. It's only the price right now. It's got 8 days to go. It has one bid, and it's at $12.74. It's being sold out of the UK. But it's a great photograph. If you like it, it's probably worth $150. It's a nice picture. And if you collect Japanese things and you're interested in works of the Meiji restoration, this is a really interesting photograph. And they have the name of the individual who took the picture, and all that's in the listing. So check that out. That'll be on the newsletter page this week. And then this little Tungchi marked, it does have a Tungchi mark on it, but I think it's later. But it's a horse cup. And of course I have to talk about it because it's got a horse on it. I love horses. There you go. Sort of unusual. I think it's probably late Qing to Republic. I don't think it's Tongchi. It's marked Tongchi. One of those rubber stamp marks. I don't think it is. I think it's a little later than that. But it's sort of a fun cup and very unusual. And as you can see, the stamping isn't exactly in the middle of the bottom of the cup. You sort of missed. That's okay. But it's got horses on it. Let's get serious about it. It's got horses and all the different colors running around it. It's fun cup. And it's only up to $19. It's got one bid, closes in a week. If you like horses and you like Republic wares and you like simple, elegant cups that are unusual, go find another one of these. I bet you can't. And go for it. If you can pick it up for $50 or so, it's a nice thing. And then over here, this is Joni's up in Canada, has a nice rose mandarin twin-handled vase with bronze mounts on it, rather elegant. Probably used as a table lamp. What a wonderful table lamp that would be. It's up to $135. Should get up to $600 or $700 at least, especially when you consider it has the ormolu mounts. Or you can take it out of the mounts and just have it as a vase. I'd leave it as it is. I think it would look nice. Get a beautiful shade for it and enjoy it that way. And then this is Henry Richard, and I'm not sure we've had him on before. He's got 400 feedbacks. This rather nice Chinese blue and white export plate. Make sure this is Chinese export. Boy, yeah, it is. Okay. The color makes it almost look like Delft. Sometimes they did those Delft pieces. It looked a lot like Chinese things. So it's not. It's Chinese. There you go. Classical mid 18th century pattern. It's up to 26.79. Closes on Sunday. It should bring $100 to $150. It's a nice plate. If you got a plate rack you're trying to fill out, that's a good one. And also on Joni's, she has, I think there's three of these Kangxi, one of my sons called them a bullet vase. These sort of tall tea caddy jars, decorated in this pattern with overglazed blue. There's no underglazed blue on this. It's all overglazed enamels. Very nice teal blue though at the bottom. That sort of turquoisey blue. Nice aubergine in it. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. I think Joni's has three of them up. We'll have them all on the newsletter page. If you haven't subscribed yet to the newsletter page, you should, because you can find out the minute the videos go up and the minute the newsletter page has been updated. And this is the stipple ground rose mandarin vase, sort of the same vintage as the other one. I think this one is a little bit earlier than the other one. Excuse me. It's around 17, again about 1770, 1780. But it has that what they call chicken skin ground. See the little dots, little spots. They're reliefed off the vase, and they call it chicken skin. And nicely enameled, very very well known pattern. There's the bottom of it flared out beautifully. Good little vase. And I think the last time we had one of these come through, it brought about $1,100 to $1,200 because of the stippling, the chicken skin ground. So that does push up the price, but it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. It's about 9 inches tall or 10 inches tall. And then this is a very nice armorial plate, but it's got a pretty good wedge out of it. I hope the guy has that wedge, but if he doesn't, it's not that big a deal to get it fixed. But it's a nice piece of armorial. And I don't know this crest. You have to get Howard's book to look it up. But you're probably if you buy this, it's gonna go for a heck of a lot less than if it was perfect. So take a shot at it. Closes on Monday. Throw $300 or $400 at it. You might get it. But a nice piece of armorial ware. And then over to this. I just threw this in because there was that pot de creme that was in the sale the other day at Grogan's. And this made me think of it. And this is a buy it now for $250, but it's a perfectly nice one with this orange sepia background and gilding and so forth. Nice strap handles on it. Nice clean little pot if you're getting interested in China trade these days. This is I think a pretty good looking piece. There you go, with the berry finial on top. Many of them have that, of course. And I think that's about it. All right. If you haven't subscribed yet here on YouTube, please do. Smash that, as they say, smash that subscribe button. I don't know why they say smash. Nobody likes to smash things, especially around dishes or jades and things. But anyway, subscribe to us. And if you can find a book you like, go ahead and buy it. And if you want to subscribe to us through the newsletter page, you can do that too, of course. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. We got a bunch of things that we're working on as always. And we'll talk about more of it later. All right. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. We're winding down summer. We want to enjoy every minute of it. Of course, we've had thunder showers here almost all day long today. It's been crazy. It's absolutely wild. But I think this weekend's going to be nice, and I hope you all have a nice weekend too. Okay. Bye-bye.